So on this website, MSW Ranking, you do have an AI RTA tier list, which is generated every now and then. I'm not sure if you have to, if it's behind the paywall or not. I'm not sure, but you have to log in to see it apparently. But not sure if everyone can see this or not for you to figure out. I think everyone could see it because this is also mostly posted on Reddit and, or not on Reddit, mainly on like Instagram and shit. It generates RTA tier lists based on win rates. I think it is therefore also a somewhat clouded tier list because I do think that tier lists in general would need a little bit of explanation by saying like some units are just good pairs with others and not so great without it and blah, 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 that kind of stuff, which I normally do in my RTA tier list videos, which I'm going to do on Friday afternoon. No, wait, let's say Friday evening on European time. I'm planning to do next RTA tier list. But then my question to you guys, which I will make a poll for in this video and that you can also probably answer on stream right now. Should I be making a tier list for G3 or for Punisher / G1? Because I've always been making a G3 RTA tier list, but it is somewhat of a reasonable fact that there's not that many people in G3 and there's a lot more people in Punisher / G1. However, in G3, I think I can make a more accurate tier list rather than Punisher / G1. So I do see a lot of Punisher / G1 in here. You have to keep in mind it might be a slightly more off tier list than what it is in G3. And what is the biggest difference between G3 and Punisher / Guardian? Well, I will check in this video as well because I can put both of them next side to side. But what I expect is units that are more dependent on artifacts or good rune quality will probably be performing better in G3 than Punisher / Guardian. But I'll do like the poll on the video. So for the people in chat right now, I just like, moment you see this video tomorrow, that's where I also do the poll. But this is just like a review of the units that are in here. For this one, I think we're going to look at G3 for now. And we're going to look at G3 first, and then I'm going to put side to side, and then we're going to see what are the differences. So the tiers in this one are different than the ones that I have for like the 195 blah blah. But you can say the same thing like this is 100, this is 95, this is 90, and all the way down it's pretty much the same thing. Kind of weird that it goes to others, like might as well call that D tier, but whatever. But let's look at what we see. We see nothing in triple S tier, which is pretty interesting and I do agree with. I think nothing is currently on a state where it is the most OP unit in game. All of the first pick units are kind of around 50-ish win rate, which a lot of the first pick units are Sierra, Vanessa, Chandra, Cigars. Like all of those first picks are pretty much in here except for Oliver. So that definitely does make sense. I think also nothing has like a super outstanding win rate right now. The only two that would maybe be a little bit higher than the others are Gianna and Ragdoll. So it does make sense that they are in the highest tier. Most interesting about this double S tier that I see in here, I think all of the units make sense. They're all very strong units in their respective thing. The only one that is slightly interesting for me to see is Duman in here. Duman is one of those units that's just a super good counter pick, most likely must ban if it is picked. But I kind of surprised to see that one in double S. That's what I personally would not put in double S. And I think I would put Sibala a little bit lower. I think Sibala is pretty strong, but I think you can only pair Sibala if you do the Sierra Sibala Dark Robo plus an LD that actually makes it strong. Without that extra LD that makes it strong, I think the whole comp is kind of in shambles, really depending on you landing everything. And if you miss one thing, you're incredibly dead. You kind of need either the Wusa or the Yeonhong or whatever to make the team work. And it's interesting to see, even though a whole bunch of nerfs on Veronica is still double S according to this tier. So a lot of things that do make sense in here. Then the next tier we have Haegang, Han, Oliver, Juno, Yeonhong, all make sense. Tianlang makes sense. Vivachel is very high up. Does somewhat make sense, but you don't see too much Vivachel, and for that reason I'm a little bit surprised it's that high up. Also the tiers in here, it doesn't have as many tiers as I would have in my tier list, and then you can distinguish a little bit more, so it maybe is understandable in S. But if you compare that to units like a Han or a Yeonhong that's a lot more spammable, it is kind of strange to see in there. Kiara, I feel like needs the spammable comp as well, or like needs the right units to become spammable as well, otherwise not that great. Uldong is pretty funny to see in here as an S tier. I think that's a lot of people are not using that thing, but it's just Kaylee and Bao buffing the living shit out of the win rate on this unit, so that's pretty interesting. The Forager is always a unit that I kind of low-ish rated, but I do think in current meta he's having a spot where he's pretty good. So I do think that he fits pretty well. Vivachel with the Ragdoll Leo comp, it is really strong. It is definitely really strong. But I would say if you have Vivachel without Ragdoll, I wouldn't really spam Leo Vivachel that much. I would only use Vivachel. If I had a Vivachel, I would only use Vivachel as Leo counter. So Leo moves on the enemy side, your Vivachel moves, you instantly kill the Leo. I think Vivachel is insanely good for that. But would I use it? Would I use a Vivachel if I didn't have a Ragdoll myself? I doubt that personally. But yeah, I think most of these placements do make a bit sense. I think Vivachel and Kiara might be a 1 down for me. And I think Shizuka in current meta is not that great. I think Shizuka in current meta, where it's that common to have Cigars on the enemy side, I think Shizuka's not having a great meta at the moment, which I like because Shizuka's shit unit. Next up, Seimei in there. It's kind of a lower win rate on Seimei than we have seen before. Nana, we have this thing. This thing is kind of interesting to see that high up. I don't think it is. We have just 2-3 people playing very well with it, but the rest is all not playing that well for it in average. So kind of interesting to see that unit being that high up. Dark Monkey being pretty decently up. It is okay in current meta, but is it super strong? I don't know. Oberon, decent high rank as well. Pontus. I don't see too many Pontuses these days. Is it actually working good? I'm surprised that Xenazek is this low though. I would say that Xenazek, compared to some of the units in here, I think Xenazek is incredibly strong in current meta. It is really strong against Gianna, which is one of the better units in game, but it's also really strong against Ethnas. It is really strong against Cigars. There's just a lot of units that do provide stuns, so I would say that Xenazek, for me, definitely provides like a higher up than that. And I would definitely say that Maximilian deserves a 1 down, because Maximilian win rate is like horrendously low in G3. I would say for P3 or G1, I would probably put Maximilian 1 up because Maximilian has a lot better win rate in lower ranks. But in G3 rank, it's like 46.5. It's really low. Bayek is in here. Pretty interesting. Zeratul. I think Zeratul's in a fine spot over here. Bella in there. Don't see too much Bella right now. I think it's fair. Zeratul. I think there's just 1 or 2 Zeratul spammers out there. Like mainly Dustin is playing very well with Zeratul or Zerath. But I think the Zerath is... I would say that he's just a class of his own, that if you make a real comp really around him and have crazy runes on him, he might work, otherwise probably not that great. So it's not like, oh, I should be using Zerath in whatever comp right now. No. Adriana is somewhat of a low rank actually, because I think a lot of units are somewhat elevated by Adriana playing very well with them. So I'm surprised to see that somewhat low. Wait, where's Masha? Masha's there. Okay, that makes sense. Vert kind of low, Crack. Okay, Nikki's pretty low down. I'm surprised that Nikki is this low down. I feel like Nikki fits more in the A tier than in the B tier. Alexandra more for late pick. Veramos. I'm pretty sure that Veramos still has a pretty decent win rate and pretty decent ban rate. So I think that Veramos would be a 1 up for me as well. Audrey. Interesting to see that. This thing is actually pretty good into Maximilians and Nefties and also into Segmats and a bunch of other stuff. It's definitely not a bad unit for our last pick. C tier. Bunch of interesting units in C tier, which I would classify as pretty decent. I feel like Akroma is actually a pretty good unit. I have an Akroma, and I would absolutely not put Akroma in C tier. I would absolutely put Akroma higher than this. I would also lower Chow. I feel like Chow, compared to a lot of these units in here, Chow... it's not that great. I feel like that C tier, like, is a super mess in this tier list in the first place. It's too many things that I would absolutely place differently. There's just too many units in the same tier. Fire Monkey, I also have a feeling that it's better. But I must say, Fire Monkey win rate isn't super high. But I would say Fire Monkey in general is fighting difficult matchups, and he's still doing pretty good in those. So, say RNG is placing monsters down. Yeah, maybe so. No, I would actually, Akroma, I would definitely up Akroma from here. But it's also weird to see like a bunch of those super late picks paired with like other things like Ezio in here, Ongyuki in here. Those are Leona in here. Like, what the hell is Leona even doing on the tier list in the first place? It's legitimately one of the worst units in RTA right now. Why is that thing over here? Whereas units that are actually getting some play, like a Diana, why is Diana over there? Diana is actually a pretty good unit in current meta. There's actually a good amount of comps where Diana does shine in. Same thing for Camilla. Piano's definitely not that bad. the others kind of bad. I would say Douglas. I don't know. Talisman is missing. Yeah, I think it's not enough pick rate for Talisman to be locked in. So a bunch of those things. I definitely do think that this is an okay-ish tier list to be looking at for probably the first 2 or maybe the first 3. But everything after that, personally, to me sounds or looks pretty messy because it's just too little different tiers. It's all like smushed together on like one tier and then, yeah, whatever, all the same. So I would say the first 2 tiers kind of make sense. Third one kind of, and then afterwards it gets kind of bad. But let's see if we add in the tier list for G1 compared to G3. Well, let me see that it looks kind of okay-ish. Is this correct? I do think it is correct this way. Yep, is it viewable for you both? Yes. So on the left side is the one that we just checked. That is G3. On the right side, that is for G1. So we right away see a few differences, which is FIFA Chell actually goes to double S. That is pretty interesting to see. Oliver goes to double S. Not surprised. Maximilian goes from a A to an S. Not surprised about that either. It is funny to see that Laura is not double S tier in G1. Also somewhat not surprised about that as well, because Laura does need good artifacts to make it work. It is mainly like units that are based on artifacts that actually are tuned down most of the time. Wayjet, also interesting to see that. Yeah, Veronica, Ivor, all of those units are kind of based on good artifacts and they're all tuned down. So let's see for A tier. Leo is still in A tier. Vert is actually up to A tier. Monkey's also up to A tier. Lucifer is A tier, whereas he is C tier in the other one. Yeah. So Lucifer Cleaves have a lot more success in Guardian than it has in Guardian 1 than in Guardian 3. Interesting. Let's see. Zinasek is... No, wait. Zinasek is same. Marsha same. Interesting. Also, Sonia and Yeon Hong are down here as well on the A tier. So those are also like heavy rune requirement units. You definitely see that the heavy rune requirement units go down. Dumon actually goes for double S to A, which is very interesting because Dumon doesn't need good rune requirements. It just needs RNG to land the skill, which is interesting to see. I'm actually surprised about it. I would say that Dumon is a lot better in the lower ranks because it's easy to rune. But then again, she could also kill a hard to rune unit more easily. Interesting. Could be something. Let's look at the bottom. Okay, some of these... Why the hell is this even on the tier list? That unit would never be used. That doesn't make any sense. It's also fun to see that the main, or the old main comp of Maximilian, which is Light Ezio based, is all the way here, where Maximilian is all the way there. That doesn't make too much sense to me at all. Because if you draft Maximilian, 9 out of 10 you're going to be drafting Ezio, so that kind of has like a weird thing to put one of the units all the way on top and the other one all the way at the bottom. But this unit without that unit is trash, but no one really uses it without it, right? We do have Talisman in here. Someone was asking for Talisman, but we do have Talisman in G1 tier. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the differences in tier lists. So let's see about Punisher. I think this is... Punisher has no data. Conqueror has data? Conqueror does have data. Let's see about Conqueror. Let's see if this... Okay, interesting. Conqueror does actually have Chandra on triple S. And you actually see a lot of units fall away from double S. That is pretty interesting. No, there's no G2. It goes from Conqueror, Punisher, G1, G3. But that is pretty interesting to see that Chandra, Valajul, Sagar, Hey Gang, like all of this is super high up. Ragdoll, super high up. I'm still surprised that people say like, no, Ragdoll is shit in low tiers. I kind of disagree with that one. Is no one using Layla in high G3? Not as much. Not as much. I think if you want a Layla comp in G3, you kind of need more LDs to make it work. Also, Yeon Hong becomes B tier. I'm not surprised about that because Yeon Hong is pretty difficult to rune. Also for Athena, these things are kind of more difficult to rune and therefore they fall down. Laura even goes down to S. Same for Gianna. I'm surprised about Vivachel not being higher in this, because I feel like Vivachel Ragdoll in this tier, or even Vivachel Leo in this tier, would make a lot of sense. Nobody can kill Gabdol in this? Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. I also see a lot of Julians in C3. I think Julian should be relatively easy to rune, so I'm surprised that Julian isn't up here as well, yeah. Where's this thing? Wow. Wait, does Conquer people not know how to pair Julian with that thing? It's funny how this thing is like double S in G3 and B in this rank over here. Because I don't think it is that hard to rune the Twin Angels. Veronica and Ivor, I think this is a lot of the Veronica people out there is like, yeah, I can make it work. Tian Lang, I can make it work. Is legitimately B tier for this. That is definitely pretty interesting to see. So yeah, these tier lists are actually made on regular base. You can select like different dates out there for them. Like they're made like every 10-ish days or something. Sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit less. But I think we might do a few more of those RTA AI tier list reviews. But I still want to make my own RTA tier list because I think that these are a little bit messy, especially on like the lower ranks. They're not really distinguishing that much between what is one or what is another, because they're just smooshing down like a whole bunch of things in the same shit. But yeah, once again, the question, which will be in the straw poll, do you want me to make a G3 tier list, which I do think is most accurate for my knowledge? Or do you want me to do a Punisher slash G1? I do play a bunch of accounts that are Punisher slash G1. And I will, of course, be looking at like the win rate data and having chat on Twitch also have the just mention things as well. So yeah, if you want to have a little bit influence in that one, be there on Friday afternoon, European time, for making the Twitch chat. Or not the Twitch chat, making the tier list in the Twitch chat. That. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab, which has the dungeon guide archive and the video guide archive, which contains all of the guides that you need. Hope to see you there.